Look like Team USA is forcing Caitlin Clark to change her infamous 22 number to a new one. Guys, for this one here,
You won't believe this, but the USA just dropped their official training camp roster, complete with player numbers, and almost immediately, fans spotted something that has the entire basketball world seeing red. We're talking absolute fury here. Caitlin Clark, without a doubt the biggest and most influential name in women's basketball right now, is being told she cannot wear her iconic number 22. Just think about that for a second. The number that is completely synonymous with her record-breaking career, the number that has become a brand worth millions of dollars, has been unceremoniously taken away from her. And the reason they're giving for this decision, well, it might just shock you. So before we dive deep into exactly why Team USA made this controversial decision and figure out if the fans are truly right to be this angry, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below right now. Should Caitlin Clark be allowed to wear whatever number she wants, period? Or is it more important that she follows the long-standing traditions of Team USA? This whole firestorm actually peels back the curtain and exposes something incredibly interesting about how the entire program operates. Alright, let's get into it. Team USA Basketball released their training camp roster, assigning every player a number, and I am not exaggerating when I say that within mere minutes of that list hitting the internet, fans absolutely lost their minds. Because right there, clear as day on the official roster sheet, was Caitlin Clark listed with number 17. Not her legendary 22, but 17. A number that holds absolutely zero significance to her career, to her global brand, or to her entire identity as a basketball player. And you better believe people are rightfully and loudly asking, what in the hell is going on here?
Because we ultimately know she was snubbed from the cover of Team USA, and not only is they snubbing her, the disrespect is continuing because it's looking like Team USA is forcing Caitlin Clark to change her number. Now this article has come out.
Let's look at the actual roster numbers that were released, because it paints a very specific picture. Kelsey Plum got number 5. Jackie Young was given 13. Derica Hamby got 15, Chelsea Gray received number 8, and Kalea Copper is wearing 7. And here is where it gets really telling. Every single player who was on the most recent Olympic roster got to keep their exact same number. Anyone who was already an established part of the Team USA system maintained their jersey number without any issue. But, and this is the key part, every single player who is new to this specific roster, they were all assigned seemingly random numbers, all of them above. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of why this is happening, let's just stop and acknowledge what the fans are actually so furious about. This has very little to do with just a number. This is about recognizing that Caitlin Clark's number 22 has become as iconic in the world of women's basketball as Michael Jordan's 23 or Kobe Bryant's 24 were in the men's game. It's reached that level. When you see that number 22 on a women's basketball jersey, your brain immediately flashes to Caitlin Clark. It has become her brand. It's her entire identity. It's the symbol that millions of fans associate with her absolute dominance in college and her explosive entry into the WNBA.
We haven't even made it to training camp yet. We have not even made it to the December 12th Women's USA Basketball training camp yet, and they are already disrespecting.
So there you have it, the full story. Caitlin Clark is being denied her number 22 for Team USA. All because of a tradition that doesn't even need to exist in the first place. Is this a fair application of the rules, or is it a clear sign of disrespect? I absolutely want to know what you think, so let me know down in the comments below. And if you want more in-depth coverage of all the Team USA drama and other women's basketball controversies, do me a favor and smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Believe me, we are just getting started. I'll see you in the next. So, when Team USA just casually assigns her number 17, almost as if she's just another random player trying out for the team, it feels profoundly disrespectful. It gives the impression that they are either completely clueless about the monumental impact she's had on the sport, or even worse, that they are deliberately trying to diminish her importance. And that is precisely why fans are so incredibly furious right now. This whole situation looks like yet another example of Team USA undervaluing Caitlin Clark, especially after the massive controversy when they left her off the Olympic roster earlier this year. But here is where the situation gets a bit more complicated, and honestly, maybe slightly less outrageous than it first appears. Team USA Basketball has a long-standing tradition of only using jersey numbers 4 through 15 for their players. Now, this isn't some brand new rule they just invented to mess with Caitlin. This is a policy they've been following for years, and it's actually rooted in old FIBA regulations that used to mandate that international teams could only use numbers. Here's the catch though. FIBA actually dropped that requirement all the way back in 2014. Teams can now use any number from 0 to 99 just like they do in the NBA and W. But for some reason, Team USA decided to keep the 4 through 15 tradition anyway, claiming it's about maintaining continuity and honoring the history of USA Basketball. That sounds noble in theory, but in practice, it leads to ridiculous situations exactly like this one, where the biggest star in the entire sport can't wear her own iconic number. And before anyone claims this is all about Caitlin, let's be crystal clear. This policy affects multiple players. A'ja Wilson, an absolute superstar, wears 22 for the Las Vegas Aces. Cameron Brink also wears 20. So you actually have 3 massive, high-profile players who all rock the same number in the WNBA. And what was Team USA's brilliant solution to this potential conflict? They just decided not to give 22 to any of them. They left the number completely unused and handed everyone random digits instead. If you look at the men's Olympic team from the last games, they did the exact same thing. LeBron James wore number 6 instead of his famous 23, and Kevin Durant wore number 7. They all had to fit within that 4 to 15 range. So no, this isn't a policy specifically targeting Caitlin or women's basketball. It's just how Team USA operates across the board. They are rigidly sticking to a tradition that technically doesn't need to exist anymore. But here's where the nuance really comes in, and why fans are still completely justified in their frustration. Yes, Team USA has this tradition, and yes, they apply it consistently. But traditions can and should be changed when they no longer make sense. Forcing the most marketable player in the history of women's basketball to abandon her iconic number just to maintain a rule that FIBA doesn't even require anymore. That's just prioritizing stubborn bureaucracy over common sense. This roster they released is for a training camp. These aren't necessarily the final numbers for actual competition. They're basically practice jerseys for a camp in December. But the very fact they assigned these numbers publicly, and specifically gave Caitlin number 17, tells us a lot about how the program views player identity. What's fascinating is that in the past, players who wore certain numbers for youth national teams didn't get to keep them when they moved up. Caitlin herself wore number 6 at the youth level. Paige Bueckers wore 5, but now Paige is wearing 19 and Caitlin is wearing 17. Random numbers with no connection to their history or career. This has led to speculation that the numbers indicate a pecking order, with 4 through 15 going to roster locks, and the higher numbers for those still fighting for a spot. If that's true, it means they see Caitlin as someone who still needs to prove herself, which would be even more disrespectful. Of course, when the final World Cup roster is set, she'll likely get a number between 4 and 15, but which one? All the good ones are taken by senior players. Is she going to take Sabrina Ionescu's number 6? Unlikely. She'll end up with a random number that means nothing. When LeBron had to wear number 6, he was still treated with the immense respect his status deserved. He was a cornerstone. The question is whether Caitlin is getting that same respect, and from the Olympic snub to this number fiasco, it really doesn't feel like she is. It feels like they're treating the biggest draw in the sport like any other rookie. Some argue that treating everyone equally is the right way, but we all know that's not how it works. Veterans get preference. A hierarchy exists, so pretending it doesn't just to justify this feels dishonest. The reality is, with 3 players wearing number 22, Team USA could have had a conversation to find a respectful solution. Instead, they took the easy bureaucratic way out. Nobody gets 20. It's a choice that treats professional athletes with massive brands like interchangeable cogs in a machine. And what's so frustrating is the timing. After a grueling season of constant criticism and pressure, the last thing Caitlin needs is another distraction, another signal that the national program doesn't fully value her. The argument that it's just a training camp falls apart because they made the numbers public, knowing it would cause a stir. They are making a statement about hierarchy. The core issue is an outdated tradition that creates more problems than it solves. When a tradition conflicts with player identity and the modern era of branding, it's time to rethink the tradition. So much of Caitlin's brand, her merchandise, her social media, her fan connection, is tied to number. Making her wear a different number creates a disconnect that hurts marketing and the growth of the sport, which she is single-handedly fueling. People who never watched women's basketball are tuning in for her, and they know her as number 22. Ignoring that reality is a missed opportunity. This whole thing is frustrating because it was so avoidable. They could have made an exception. They could have found a solution. Instead, They rigidly applied an outdated rule, and now they're facing a backlash from fans who feel their favorite player is being disrespected. Time will tell if this changes anything, but it's clear Team USA needs to rethink how it balances tradition with the modern realities of sports.